Hey, friends, welcome to another episode of Not Your Mama's podcast. The title of this episode is called Life Changing Tools to Grow a Sustainable, Profitable Business. In this episode, our special guest is Kristen Edwards, who is an expert in communication and psychology. She has trained thousands of professionals and guided hundreds of women to be confident business leaders. She can help you create your dream life filled with creativity, fulfillment, and success. Kristen is also the host of Amplify Ambition, which is a podcast for those who want to stop doubting their authority and elevate with intention to make a greater impact. Kristen, it's such an honor to have you on. Can you give the audience a little bit about your background, your experience, and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, thank you so much, Christina. I'm so excited to join you. So, my background is really corporate HR. I did training and recruiting, diversity kind of specialist and focused on those initiatives throughout my entire career. And as much as I loved the daily work that I was doing, I always felt like there was just something else missing. And so for me, it was that creative piece. Like I kind of got good at my job, and then there was nothing new unless it was like a problem to solve. And so it was like, what is that extra piece? And so starting my own business got to put all of those roller coaster of do
Yeah.
it all yourself kind of DIY solopreneur aspects that I really loved into my business. And then I found out that I really liked helping other people start their business and taking a lot of that leadership development from my corporate career kind of is what grew my business in the direction it is now. But at the end of the day, like love what you're doing, but get paid for something that you love too. So that's really what got me started on this journey, and I love it. But I also want to make sure that even if you are taking the entrepreneurial route, you're doing it as a professional, as an authentic part of who you are and the purpose that you were created for.
Yeah, no, I love that. Like working from a place of authenticity and like who you are to create like your brand or your business. So, I love how you kind of talk about gaining confidence. And I think that's what people lack when wanting to start their business and doing things like that. How do you help women gain confidence in moving towards their authentic business?
Yeah. And so, in order to know what type of business you're supposed to create, you really have to start by knowing yourself. And it is a scary, scary journey. And those of us who've been in business anything more than 6 days have started that process. But really, that's that first piece is having the courage to say, there's something that I know, there's a problem that I can solve, and I'm going to start by helping one person transform their life. And your confidence is really going to come from that place of courage where you start. And
Mhm.
as you get more and more practice, that's when you get better. Think of the first time you drove a car or if you played a sport, your first day on a job when you were 16, 18 years old. We all started from a place of like, hopefully, and that's really where you start your business. Hopefully, this works out. And then as you drive more and more hours, hopefully, you become a better driver. It's the same thing as a business owner. And so, really taking it from that point of saying, I want this thing, I have the desire to learn and grow in it. And that's where your confidence will develop over time. It takes time. No matter what anyone tells you, it always takes time to grow your confidence.
Do you have any like tips that you can give to for someone to take away like that they can work on for their confidence? Like what's like one tool someone
Yeah,
can do
so
to work on that today?
absolutely. I think the first thing that I would say is that you have to give and receive compliments. And so it's
Mm.
easy to think of that when it comes to someone's fashion or hair or makeup or whatever, but giving and receiving those compliments and not out of place of jealousy, but recognizing the little things all add up. So, hey, I love how your website came out. And so ask a couple questions so that you can learn from them to make your website better. Hey, I love how natural you show up on video. Great. Ask a couple questions on what's going to make them. So giving those compliments. And then the second part is asking the questions so that you can improve little by little. And obviously, again, practicing. The more and more that we do something, the better that we're going to become at it. So fill in the gap, GAP.
I love that. I love that. And so how can we get ourselves out of the shadow and into the spotlight? I know you have amazing information about that. So how can we get out of our way, out of the shadow and into the spotlight?
Yeah. So as you're developing your confidence, you're going to also be testing the waters. And I know a lot of times, as soon as you start a business, they're like, what's your niche? And like, truthfully, in year one, we're all lying. None of us know what our niche really
I
is.
know.
You might have a general idea of like, hey, I love helping women. That's a great place to start. And as you test the waters, you'll say, I love helping moms, or I love helping people who are only dog moms. And I'm using really light examples, but again, as you start to figure out your specialty, you'll start to say, okay, this is what I love and this is what I enjoy. When I don't know something, this is what I enjoy doing the research and learning. And like, I can't wait to get X or Y off my plate. And so you're going to test the waters more and more, but lean into the things that you enjoy, lean into the skill sets that feel a little bit natural for you or that you, again, love being a beginner at.
Yeah.
As you start to again have that practice and have that repetition, you're going to see where your natural strengths shine. And when you lean into your natural abilities, that's when you really can say, this is how I can become an expert on doing something. And if you don't know your natural abilities kind of off the bat, again, start journaling, thinking about what you've done in the past. But I love using personality tools. The Enneagram is my absolute favorite. I use it with all my clients. But again, DISC, human design, there's a million different tools out there. Strengths Finder, lean into your strengths, and that's going to help you to really shine and come out of the shadows and separate yourself from everyone else that's doing what you do.
Yeah. I know. There's one person, she gave not great advice, but told me like, you kind of have to be living that life in order to be blogging about it or doing that. Like, if you're not really much of a cooker, like, don't do recipes, and like, if you don't really like
Love
doing it,
that.
then don't
So
do it,
true.
and if you kind of have to like really enjoy what you're doing in order to do it. Cause I feel like people want to be all these things and they're not really doing all those things. And so it makes it harder. You want to work smarter and not harder. I know for me,
Absolutely.
when I started this journey, I mean, I love writing and stuff, and I do have a blog, but what I felt like I wanted to gravitate more towards is talking to people. I love communicating. I love meeting people. I love learning about how they go through life, how they got to where they are to be, because I think women like you inspire me. Going out, having a business and having the confidence and the courage to go out and teach others, I think it's important. You got to really be living that life if you want to have that life.
Yeah. And if you even think about marketing, right? You said blog, then there's podcasting, there's YouTube. There's so many elements on how you can market your business. Think about where you like to learn from. I can't pay attention to a YouTube video, even if it's only 2 minutes long. I still lose traction, but I can listen to podcasts hours and hours and hours. I love audiobooks. And so for me, if I love learning in that way, I'm an auditory learner.
Yeah.
But that's how I knew that a podcast was right for me to start. Now I had to figure out the editing and all the other things that go into that. But I love podcasting enough to go down and learn that. Where YouTube, if I can't watch someone else's YouTube video, I sure as heck am not recording my own YouTube
Yeah.
video or trying to create that channel.
Yeah. Yeah. So how can we have the power of self-awareness? What's something that you can talk about in terms of us having some self-awareness?
So when it comes to your self-awareness, the most important thing is again to learn and trust yourself. Now, trusting yourself is a journey that as much as I've grown in it over the last 10 years, I'm still learning how to trust myself in new and new layers every single time. But self-awareness again comes from knowing yourself. When you know what matters to you, when you know what your values are, when you know what you believe in, what you care most about. If you care about sustainability and saving the whales and the trees and like recycling paper versus someone who's like, I'm going to use all of the hot water out of this water heater before I end my shower. So, like, which I'm probably halfway between the two. So, but using those examples and recognizing what do I care about most and bring those elements into your business. So if you care about being paperless, then having a digital online business might work a lot better for you than being like a newspaper paper delivery person. And
Yeah.
so again, using really light examples, but lean into the things that how am I living every single day in my life? do I drink the water or do I literally live off of, caffeinated soda type of things, sweet beverages? And
Yeah.
so what you're leaning towards and what you naturally gravitate towards in your real life are the things that you should be bringing into your business as well. And so that's when people start to say, hey, I've never, right? When your sister or cousin is like, I've never seen you once drink a bottle of water, and your brand is all about like healthy water drinking, health stuff, people are going to be like, this is a lie. And if
Yeah.
your friends and your family can't even see it in you, trust me when I say that even a complete stranger on the internet is going to read through what it is you're doing. And if you're on a journey, right? I used to do the sugary stuff and now I'm trying to drink more water, then be honest about this.
Yeah.
I'm on a journey trying to kick a bad habit, learning to drink more water, trying to stay hydrated and take care of myself. So even your honesty in saying I'm on this journey or this is how I live every single day, people
Mhm.
want to see the real you. And that does not mean showing your dirty little secrets every single time. You don't have to open up the worst parts of your life to still be a very authentic version of who you are and how you're created to be.
Yeah, you brought up a really good point is everything is energy and people could even sense it on the screens that like this is phony, this is not authentic. Like it's so powerful that people can kind of sense it even if they don't know you. Um and I feel like a lot of times people are just afraid to show up to be their authentic self online, because it's such a vulnerable space. We live in this culture of like keyboard warriors that they just attack people. People are very mean. Yes, it can have like a beautiful space, but there's a lot of viciousness going on, like bullying and things like that. So I think people get scared to show up as themselves. Like, what is something that you can tell someone uh, to kind of like move past that and to not be fearful of, showing up as your authentic self to the world?
Yeah, so I think the first part of it is to acknowledge that it's okay to be afraid. Even the most dolled up Hollywood glam version of someone will also tell you, like, yes, I still have stage fright and I'm a big screen actor or whatever it might be. And so, one, recognize that you have that fear and accept it. It's going to be just as you're building your confidence, you're also going to like build your bridge to get over those fears on the same way. So, like, you're not alone in that. But then
Mhm.
also start revealing the things that you do feel comfortable with. So, like, I have no problem showing up. No makeup, hair in a bun, hoodie, leggings all day, every day. Like
Yeah.
leaving the corporate world and getting to wear leggings is the highlight of my life. And eventually I'll start putting on real clothes again. But I love that. And so just literally being able to, but I still turn it on like a professional when I need to. I know when and how, time and place. And so it's small increments of like happy to have my hair in a bun, but also knowing that certain things are not ever going to kind of show up in my social media. So it's being true and authentic in bits and pieces. And then over time, and it's totally fine to wear makeup. I'm not judging the people that do. Every now and then I do
Yeah.
put it on, but
Yeah.
that's my personal example of how I can show up authentically. For someone else, they have to fully put on the suit in order to feel like they're ready to handle their workday. And like, you do you. If that's going to show up as your best, then please get dressed and do it the right
Yeah.
right way, as well. But it's these little small incremental changes. And
Mhm.
if you look back from January 1st to December 12th, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, so much has changed. If you're picking yourself apart day by day by day, you'll never see the growth. But if you're like, hey, 3 months went by, this is how far I've come. Hey, 6 months went by, this is how far I've come. I've had the same Instagram post since I created Instagram 10 years ago. And sometimes I love scrolling through and being like, oh, thank God I've changed. I know other people like delete it or create a new account because they don't want to look back on their past. I love being able to see my own growth and literally go, thank God I don't do that anymore. Thank God I've learned from those things. And they were bad. Like I still love a good inspirational quote.
Yeah.
Those will never go away. But now I'm also a thought leader in some of those ideas that are coming up as well. So it's just little things that I get to look back on and celebrate over time.
Hey, friends, I hope you are enjoying this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. This podcast would not be possible if it wasn't for the support of you, my wonderful community. To support Your Mama's Podcast, please click the support link right down below, and you can donate just as little as 99 cents. Also, follow me in the Shop Like to Know It app, where you can follow me with all my exclusive content, all the way from baby products I love, fashion and style, and everything in between. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. As long as you are better than what you were yesterday, like give yourself a pat on the back. You know, we can be our own worst enemies at times. And yeah, I don't with like for my Instagram. Yeah, I don't ever delete anything. I feel like I can't. It's like a memory and it's like who I was at that time in that year and in that space. And sometimes I'm like, oh wow. And like, do people really scroll that far down? You know, like
No, only me.
well, there are people like you out there that do scroll down all the way.
I should say only me on my own profile, not even someone else's.
Yeah, my own profile I'll do, but not other people's. And it's too much effort, you know. But yeah, no, that's funny. Okay, so I have 4 questions that I ask all my first-time guests. And so my first question to you is, who and what inspires you?
Yeah. So I started reading John Maxwell books when I was 12 years old. That's what got me hooked on leadership and personal development. So I literally have been doing this for 20 years. Clearly, I didn't have a college degree at 12 years old, but like I have been loving Eat, Sleeping, and Breathing this really more than half of my life. And so that's who I look up to. And my goal is really to be a young Black female version of John Maxwell, because there actually aren't a lot of Black women in the leadership space. So that's my goal.
Yeah, no, I love that. No, I love John Maxwell. I was actually did a little bit of like their program to be certified to be a speaker and all that stuff. So, and I love I really do love his messaging. It really is great. And it can really help someone, you know, become a thought leader and just, you know, be a better mom, be a better person, you know, so you definitely have a good background in that. And so my second question to you is, what is something you wished you knew when you were younger?
So I definitely didn't have any self-trust growing up. I knew that like I was smart and I could check a lot of boxes of like getting things done, but it was always for external validation, whether that be my mom or church or teachers or coaches, whoever it might be. I was always looking for someone else to tell me that was good enough. And that followed for me. I did theater growing up. So like a director had to give me the part in my job. My boss had to give me the job and tell me I was good enough. And so it really took till like mid to late 20s to realize I'm smart because I'm smart, not because someone else said it, and to really start to trust my own ideas and abilities and to know how to move forward and make those effective decisions for my own life. So it's a journey. I think I'm still on it, but I wish I knew a little bit more. I didn't even know the concept of self-trust back then.
No, that's a good point that you bring up, because I think that will always be your journey through your whole life, you know, all the way to the end is self-trust and knowing you're making the right decisions and like forgiving yourself if you make a wrong decision because it's a lesson, and understanding that. And, you know, even like for being a parent and parenthood, like trusting that you're making the right choices for your kids. And sometimes they're not, and they're going to have issues with you, but that's life, you know? I mean, I think that's a really good point that you brought up, because I think everyone will always be on the journey of self-trusting and going with your gut. And I think that was a good point to bring up. So my third question to you is, what's the essential part of your daily routine?
So my coffee routine, I I like caffeine. So don't get me wrong when I say this, but I barely drink coffee for the caffeine. There's something about like taking that first sip. I usually kind of do like my journaling and coffee time all together. So really just that time to center myself, but I call it my coffee part of my day. But really starting my day at a point of like, for me, I am a Christian. So having that quiet time with God, kind of journaling, also brainstorming like what are my objectives for today? What are my goals? Am I moving towards them? And all of that over a very large cup of coffee. Like my coffee cup is as big as my face, no joke. And so really having that half hour, like that quiet time and peace for me. And sometimes that's not even until 10 o'clock. So it's like I've done all the wake up, get the kids ready, drop off things, and then have my coffee.
Yeah.
But still having that coffee time is really important for me.
Yeah, no, I get that coffee time and like that me time to really sit down with yourself and kind of like go over your life plans and where you are and what you need to get done for the day. I mean, I think it sets you up just to even show up better as a mom, like when you go and you pick your kids up after dropping them off at school or whatever, as long as you've taken care of
Absolutely.
yourself, like you're just so much, you just show up better in like all your relationships because you start getting resentful if you're not able to give a little bit of you time, me time in.
Absolutely. You need that balance. Definitely can't, I literally can't pour from an empty cup. So like I have to fill up my coffee and then I could give to everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, don't talk to me till I have my coffee.
Seriously, my kids know it.
Okay. And so my last question to you is best advice you've ever received.
So there's a whole book on it. And I actually never heard of it. So I had a coach that mentioned this to me. And then I read the book. It's actually by John Maxwell called Failing Forward. And really the concept behind it, partially self-explanatory, but really taking those risks and recognizing that inside every success you have, there were some ups and downs and some failures to get you to that milestone that you have. And so recognizing that failure is not the end of it, it's just a part of the process. And it's something that I have to remind myself sometimes once a day, but definitely every week, every month, every project that I'm on, just recognizing like it's supposed to be a journey. There's going to be some ups and downs. And through that failure, what can I learn in order to move forward and make better decisions?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great reminder because I feel, oh, I failed. I'm time to give up. It's not meant for me. I think people are so quick to do that. And if you're not seeing the results right away, we're such like a fast paced society now. We got to have the fast shipments in, we got to have the fast food, everything's instant. And if we don't see instant results, it's like, okay, this wasn't meant for me. And I know sometimes I have to check myself in that, doing the podcast and like, no one's watching it or whatever. And you just kind of like, am I even doing the right thing? But I enjoy it. And then you get kind of anxiety and you got to be like, no, you just work on it, practice, and find your secret sauce, whatever that is. So I think that's a great reminder that it's a process and it's a journey, and a failure is just going to leap you to the right answer to bring you forward to the end goal of whatever your goal is. And then you can start over again once you meet that goal.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think that's the great part. And I'm not saying I don't cry. I'm not saying I don't have bad days, but to be able to like pick myself back up and be like, nope, that was just a learning curve and we're going to keep going
Yeah.
in the process of that. So absolutely.
No, that's great. So before we go, do you have any last words for the audience?
I'm just really excited, to join you. I love that you said this. Like, it's not about this traditional mom. Like, we get to create our own journey, create our own path, and define the life that we want. And so, just being, surrounded by people who also say, like, this is really how it is. Just a reminder to everyone that's listening is that you are the only one who tells yourself no, and that you get to also give yourself permission and say, this is what I'm going for. So, write down that dream, write down that goal, and figure out a way to make it happen.
No, I love that. Yeah, you really are the only person that tells yourself no. I love that. Well, Kristen, thank you so much for coming on. It was such an honor. And I have all of her information down below in the show notes. If you would like to connect with her, maybe she can help you move towards your true authentic self, get you going on your life dream, and start that business that you've always wanted to start. Again, thank you so much for coming on Not Your Mama's podcast. And I will see you guys in the next one.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.